Greetings and salutations, my beautiful people. I'm Caddicarus, and yes, I am wearing exactly the same things and sitting in exactly the same place with exactly the same camera angle as I was with doing the Film Fridays. Yes, I'm filming both those videos in today. Oh, the magic of behind-the-scenes filmmaking. Anyway, today I came to tell everybody that From Software are officially one of my favourite game companies ever made. Which probably means that being a PS1 guy, I should maybe talk about Armored Core soon?
Not now, though.
Why?
Top 10.
No.
Dark Souls.
No.
3.
No.
Dark Souls 3.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Fine, I won't make a top 10 then. Suit yourself, I tried. Oh, Dave, you really know how to convince me, don't you?
Well, you know.
Yes, instead, let's talk about Dark Souls 3. Yes, this game is amazing, that much is absolutely true. But do you know what else is amazing about it, other than the controls, the visuals, the music, the gameplay, everything? The bosses. The bosses are fucking awesome. And today we're going to talk about them in a top 10 video. There's not much else to say about this, other than this isn't a list from my easiest bosses to my hardest bosses, because there are 19 bosses to pick from after all, they are just my favourite ones. And please be aware that this is my opinion, you're on my fucking top 10 video, you don't like my opinion, make your own one. That's the beauty of the internet. You can do that. It's fine. For today, I shall be counting down my top 10 favourite Dark Souls 3 bosses because I felt like it, okay? To kick everything off at number 10, we have Vordt of the Boreal Valley. For such an early boss in the game, this guy not only has one of the most memorable pieces of music backing him, but also serves to solidify the fact that this game is both parts patient and slow Dark Souls and aggressive and quick Bloodborne all in one. His health count isn't too high and the range of attacks limited, but like I said, for a starting boss, he's unpredictable, fast, and hits like a truck if you get too carried away with your greediness if you think you can take him down as fast as possible. Coming to this from Bloodborne as well, his movements and behaviors reminded me a lot of the werewolf beasts in Yharnam, and if that wasn't enough, where he comes from, the Boreal Valley, sets a precedence for how weird characters from that area can behave. It's a great early encounter, a great foreshadowing, and even though not too difficult once you learn the ins and outs, an epic early fight to guard your passage to the rest of the game. At number 9, we have the Abyss Watchers. As far as the lore is concerned, these guys have strong affiliations with Artorias and other warriors destined to fight away any Shroud of the Abyss forever. And luckily enough for you, by the time you find these guys, they've already gone mad and consumed by the Abyss itself, and now just spend every minute of their existence killing each other and killing each other some more. There are other bosses like Deacons of the Deep or the Crystal Sage that have multiple targets that basically multiply the shit you have to dodge and lower your windows for attacks and healing, but the Abyss Watchers are unique in the sense that, well, firstly, the multiple spawning targets basically act as ultra-aggressive, tough regular enemies instead of one-hit kill Sage clones, but also because other Abyss Watchers will spawn only to then distract your main targets, giving you glorious seconds to further learn the moveset, take any time needed to heal or attack, and also try to figure out how to exploit these warriors fallen from grace. It's kind of sad and one of the more selfish fights, as you are essentially sacrificing each Abyss-watching brother to your main target as you figure out the rest, but the patience needed to wait for the help, along with the quickness needed to act on your target when there aren't others there to distract you, make it a very unique fight indeed, and one that doesn't necessarily reward you with dispatching other tough enemies immediately, as they will keep coming back, so you need to work out when the best time to do everything is. Number 8 is, in my opinion, the saddest of the bosses in the game, Oceiros the Consumed King. This once most powerful person in Lothric, you know, the king of the setting you're exploring in the whole game, Oceiros became obsessed with power and immortality, and after discovering many things related to Seath the Scaleless' research, he ended up opting towards the path of the dragon and then twisted into a corrupted and crippled mess of a monster, and one that seems to think one of his children is present, but he actually has no idea what's going on. Knowing this and seeing him limp toward you and hearing him call out for his non-existent child he thinks you're trying to take, it gives you the impression the fight will be a cakewalk and one that you will feel awfully guilty for partaking in, but the more you look past the first stage of the battle, which in itself can slip you up because of his erratic and stumbling attempts to keep you away, that will not prepare you for the complete shift in fighting style. You will need to be ready for both the erratic beginning and the aggravating second phase, in which, much like Vordt, Oceiros will use his last ounce of strength to go completely batshit insane at you, and then the battle becomes a case of then using every chance to stay as close as possible without being eaten, staying away from frost attacks, rolling at the precise moments when he charges to nearly kill you, which is often because he jumps high away from you constantly whenever you get too close, and being as aggressive as he is in order to succeed. He is the Consumed King and is completely insane, which is clear in his random and erratic fighting style and utter shock you'll get if you aren't ready for his second phase. On this playthrough, for instance, I was not ready for the second phase and died pretty quickly. I just thought he was desperately trying to protect his supposed son on his last legs, and that softened me up. It was a mean trick game. Number 7 was a boss I actually had quite a lot of trouble with, Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. Firstly because I was disgusted that I was fighting what was essentially a sludgy mess of other eaten characters from Dark Souls, but also because the fight itself was as much a battle of avoiding his varied and devastating magic attacks that also change up in the second form of the battle to behave entirely differently, but also a battle of camera control. Not because he's too big and messes up the camera or anything, he just moves around the area very often, and if you don't know where he is at every second, you could miss a vital chance to cover from certain attacks, dodge others, or miss a chance to run into his slug butt and deal pain. I barely actually locked onto him in this fight. But you can't go too trigger happy though, because despite his melee wind-up and stumbling being ample moments to attack or heal, it's the quickly telegraphed and executed close-range magic that really screws you up if you aren't in the right armor or not fast enough to avoid it. It throws in a nice cost and benefit system to preparation for the fight. Are you confident in dodging magic attacks but not melee, so go for a strong physical resistant build for close quarters? Or are you more confident in dodging every melee attack so then you can wear magic armor for the trickier and hard-hitting magic attacks? It's up to you! But that still didn't mean I died all the fucking time, slug butt. Okay, number 6 goes to my third most difficult encounter I had to deal with, aside from Aldrich at second place, Pontiff fucking Sulyvahn. Fuck this guy. If Aldrich wanted good men to give him lords to eat, I don't blame him for choosing this guy to do the job. He's fucking crazy, and I was immediately intimidated by him, not helping my chances in the fight, to be honest. And when I said I finally beat him on Twitter, some people seemed genuinely shocked I had so much trouble with him. I guess there was something here I was missing, but I basically viewed this fight as Gehrman from Bloodborne, but with 2 swords with different types of damage to deal. Another Boreal Valley enemy, he has that particular charm about him that makes him weird in appearance and equally unpredictable to fight. And like I said, yes, it does feel like Gehrman in the sense that it seems to be solely a melee match to the absolute death, and one with barely any chances to heal or counterattack unless you're close to perfect with rolling and getting around the many combos at his disposal. So much so that I actually don't know if magic attacks are possible in this battle. Correct me if I'm wrong, and please link me to videos that can do it, because I wouldn't even know where to start. He is determined you will not get past him, and he's so aggressive for a boss at only really the halfway point that I almost needed online help to beat him, because oh yeah, did I mention that he multiplies himself and guards himself with his other self? Yeah, if all the intense fast-paced combat wasn't enough, he decides to double up. But luckily, despite scaring the shit out of me and making me lose the first time it happened, it makes the fight actually a little bit easier, since both copies mirror each other's moves to such a degree that the one that starts an attack leaves themselves open while the other attacks, and with that knowledge the initial intimidation fades, and with enough confidence and persistence, boom, James P. Sulyvahn was no more. I hear you all call out now, how could I put the first boss in the entire game at number 5, above any others I've just been mentioning? Well, simply because it's one of the greatest first bosses I've ever played. His name even, Iudex, or Iudex, however you pronounce it, derives from the Latin of judge, as he sits there with a sword in him, presumably from the last Ashen one before you who passed his judgment to access the Firelink Shrine. And what a judge he is. For a first boss, Gundyr, however you pronounce that, does not fuck around, and with no way of leveling up, small health and small stamina, you are forced into a battle of everything Dark Souls is with no help at all. Patience and aggression, and not underestimating your enemy because fuck me, he's a blob! Yes, for a first boss, he hits hard enough, but there's also a second phase, and one that equally hits hard and doesn't even let you near him too often. It's ridiculous how much this guy expects, new players especially, to become accustomed to, but equally, the feeling of reward for beating him within the first 20 minutes of your quest is unparalleled. He teaches the basics of Dark Souls 3 boss techniques in such a brutal way, but with those moments allowing you to keep your distance, that you feel prepared for anything once passing his judgment, even if that's true or not. And dude, Champion Gundyr hidden away in the untended graves? Basically the same battle, but with even less chances to fuck up, all while being faster with more combos, near instant kill attacks, and the ability to register certain times you attack and then use them to counterattack you? That's cruel. And he even gets faster and more ridiculous in the second phase of that battle too. But the reward in lore speculation and item discoveries after that optional boss are some of the most interesting and thought-provoking in the whole game, so along with the incredible battle that almost feels like you're proving yourself twice over, you get some epic shit right after him to not only make the battles of both Gundyrs, but the rewards after them equally incredible. The rest of the game access for Iudex, and the most mind-blowing story shit for the champion. Put both of them together here, they deserve it. At number 4, one of the last bosses in the game and 2 of the other sons of Oceiros, Lorian the Elder Prince and Lothric the Younger Prince. Arguably one of the causes of the entire world fucking itself over. These bastards, despite appearing completely pampered, spoiled, and annoying, along with the fact Lorian walks around on all fours and Lothric can't move at all, makes you think they have no tricks up their sleeves. But if you think you'll be returning them to the thrones of the Filing Shrine,
You must think again, young Padawan.
essentially you fight the same boss here twice, but on the second time around, with another part added onto the original boss with the ability to cast a couple of spells. And like any great Soulsborne boss, it's all about the initial intimidation that throws you off so much and makes you think there's too much multitasking going on for you to handle, making you miss your mark during learning all the new attacks in the second phase, and distracting you, causing you to mess up from the old attacks of the first phase you spent so long mastering to get to that point. It's a very manipulative and deceptive boss, but once you get your head around that, it's still difficult to get every dodge nailed at the right moments, with Lorian's epically reaching and hard to gauge sword combos that can be also interrupted by him as he teleports, meaning you have to remember exactly how each telegraphed attack begins and ends in order to successfully dodge them after his teleportation. He teleports next to you, you can't just run away from him. It's a very clever fight in that sense. You can get lucky with rolling in some battles even when you haven't quite got the attack timing right, but here, because of his teleportation next to you, you can rarely get lucky. He's always there, tricking you, staying close to you via teleporting no matter how much you avoid him, and any tiny mistakes in this fight are severely punished, especially if you don't know every single wind-up and keep the camera locked onto him every other second of the battle. Then when Lothric himself comes down, not only do you have to do all of that again because he revives him, but also avoid only a few magic attacks, not too bad honestly, but equally actually focus on killing him instead of the guy you're avoiding the main attacks from, and getting to the back of Lorian to kill Lothric is easier said than done. You have to change up your entire attack strategy. You can still dodge Lorian's attacks just fine, but getting to the back of him when you could have spent the entire first half of the battle attacking him from the front is pretty difficult. Meaning for me, I had to kill Lorian first again in order for Lothric to come off of him and heal him, at which point I nailed his ass to the floor in the middle of his culty ritual bullshit. It's a very memorable and very satisfying fight to get down, and one I felt perfectly fitted the themes with them being both the most spoiled and shitty humans in the game. Number 3 I have to give to the soul of Cinder. Yes, the last boss isn't actually my ultimate favourite. I could talk more in depth about how I think the design and concept of him is unbelievably lame. What, just a mix of all the souls that linked the flame before? That's it? And how I think his very existence in the area of the game that he's in, along with all the multiple endings, totally just ruin every brand new thing that the story was leading up to. But whatever, he's still my third favourite boss for a reason, and why is that? The motherfucking gameplay, oh my god. This is a perfect, and I mean perfect, culmination of everything that you learn in the game. The multiple forms, reading and avoiding unblockable near insta-kill combos, exploiting every slow post attack for healing, rolling around into walls instead of away, figuring out how to exploit magical attacks and use them to your advantage to keep as close as possible and punish him, being brave enough to keep your own combos going to stagger him for extra damage, but also be mindful of stamina for safety and being careful not to get too greedy. All the while dealing with some of the most erratic attacks, hard to dodge combos, fast-paced running, slow deceitful wind-ups. My god, I could go on forever. It's a phenomenal ending boss battle for definite. And that's all I have to say. But I prefer the next two. Number 2 I absolutely loved, not only as a battle, not only as a surprise encounter without any initial fog door, but from the utter deception of her design and the gameplay around her. Well, at least I'm assuming that this is she. The Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Yes, another one of them, couldn't you tell? It's not the hardest boss in the game, not the easiest by far, but not the hardest, I would say, and she doesn't really have any additional phases, but it's the trickery of this boss that impressed me, stuck in my mind long after I beat her, and left me repeating the fight countless times before nailing it forever. As you can tell from this sickly slithery design, which I also adore, this makes every single thing the Dancer does near impossible to read and figure out on your first few goes, and still remains tricky on multiple retries. Not only does she employ the mechanics of staring you down and giving you false security to go after her, and employs attacks that require impeccable rolling and running away, and basically does everything else fantastic with the patience of aggression levels ever present in the rest of the game, but in a smaller space, but her movements are what bring this entire fight together. She's a dancer, and this whole part of the game is a dance. It no longer becomes a fight about good timing and brute force, but more like a puzzle. With each flowing and floppy movement she makes, it's extremely difficult to gauge what attack or combo is coming, how you should avoid it, and when it's actually coming down. And every single attack wind-up that begins distills paranoia inside you, as you'll probably either be too late to dodge or outright panic and dodge right into it. A clever and very deceitful battle technique that not only works with her graceful and horrifyingly uncomfortable design, which threw me off enough, but one that tests your patience milliseconds before your aggression. Being aggressive is a tactic here for sure, but unlike other battles that require a successful dodge followed by a counter, you need to read every frame of her animation to design in milliseconds what the attack is, if it's worth going in for afterwards for a few smacks, if a combo will follow it, or hell, if there's even an attack at all. Her movements are just so unnatural, You just need to wait for milliseconds before making your committed decision on what to do and how to roll away. And that impeccable level of patience required from you in the very last milliseconds of any slimy attack pattern she has was enough to make it one of the most tense bosses for me in the entire game, and an unforgettable and brilliantly designed fight that switched up and fucked with everything you thought you knew about avoiding attacks in the game. But I do prefer, I must be honest, the Nameless King. I couldn't put anyone else here other than the Nameless King. The only boss I had to ignore and come back to hours later just from its difficulty. For the firstborn son of Gwyn, arguably the most important character in Soul's lore, and stripped of his titles for being a god of war, too reckless and foolish to be trusted alongside his peers, well, if you think Gwyn couldn't control him, what makes you think you have any fucking chance against him? Easily the most intimidating boss in the whole game, and arguably the most difficult, you'll begin this boss fighting a fucking dragon with the king mounting it. That sounds disgusting. With many attacks not only centered around the dragon itself swiping, stomping, flying, breathing fire and engulfing the entire floor in flames, but also with the king firing great lightning bolts at you in flight, poking you with a seriously nasty weapon, charge poking you with that same seriously nasty weapon, and basically requiring that you, again, know the attacks inside out in order to know when to properly lock onto the beast and lock off for freedom of escape and attack. After a few goes, the initial daunting task starts to seem trivial, and by the end I was acing the dragon without taking a single hit. But then you realize you aren't done yet. You have another boss now, the king himself, and he's an unstable, angry, and vicious motherfucker. Vicious is the word here, because I swear, unless you survive long enough to learn each phase of his epic attacks and then apply what you learned to dodge nearly every single one of them perfectly, you will fail in this battle. Up until this point, you'll get punished for making mistakes for sure, but this boss revels in your failure, because every hit you take from him basically means you need to use an Estus flask. But unfortunately, because of how quick he is, it'll need to be used during another attack you know that you'll be okay to use it through while he's busy winding it up or while he rests when he post-attacks you. You are never safe in this fight, and like it or not, this bastard will get you from range or close up despite the huge area to fight him in, and it's a horrible fucking feeling. Yet one of the best designed and toughest and most incredible bosses I've ever fought in my life. The impeccable timing and execution of his devastating attacks, the range of ways he can attack, the deceitful combos, the way every inch of the huge arena means nothing as he basically commands and owns all of it no matter where you are. He's one of the most powerful and savage things in the game, and one that also relies on pure concentration, fast reflexes, and aggression to beat. You have to give him a taste of his own medicine, something no other bosses really do. I honestly couldn't tell if a magic ranged approach is even possible with the dragon phase, let alone this one. And what's worse is that not just death and retrying him is punishment enough, but you need to get through his dragon again on a retry. But like I said, the more you do it, the easier the dragon becomes, and the more pumped and prepped you are to take the guy head on afterwards. This boss could be seen as the equivalent to punching a brick wall, gradually chipping off pieces before breaking it, and for many I understand that would be unappealing, especially for an optional boss, but this guy sums up everything I adore about these games. Not just for lore, not just for the threatening, dark presentation and commanding nature of the character owning every aspect of the arena you think you can use to stay safe, not just for the fact it actually subliminally pumps you up by making you beat an initially fucking difficult boss so many times over to the point of it just becoming a hurdle. What other game does that? Make another hard boss seem easy. But the utter joy it brings for those willing to master it, and the rewards in store for the dedicated. Like I said, it is optional after all. Even though the dragon armor you get after beating him is worth the fucking battle alone, along with the Titanite slab, I'd say it's the actual victory that destroys any other rewarding feeling you experience in the game. No matter how many times I retried this boss, there was never a feeling of relief or a feeling of, oh thank God. I was genuinely happy. And when a game that gives you feelings like that actually overpowers the items you get for beating the thing you've had trouble with, you know you've got something special. Look, I even tried to celebrate I was so happy I beat the boss, but then the next cutscene started and I was very sad. But just the feeling of success was better than any of the actual in-game benefits. I can't say anything else about it other than if you fought him yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, well, rest assured you won't forget him anytime soon. And if you plan on going near him in the future, I'm only gonna say good luck to you. And that's that. Thank you so much for watching this video today, everybody, and thanks so much to Dave Klein for not only appearing in this video at the beginning, but also for providing me with some of his Dark Souls 3 footage whenever mine wasn't good enough, because most of these were recorded on my first playthrough, and I fucking failed at these bosses, so thank you for doing that for me, Dave, and please check out his channel on screen or in the description below, because if you love what I do on Caddicarus, or just Dark Souls and Bloodborne things in general, you will love his channel. There's so many awesome review videos and so many awesome lore videos, and he's absolutely hilarious. Love you, man. And as always, please comment below your personal opinions, because I'm not the only human alive here. And also, before I go today, I just wanted to let everybody know that I am now partnered with an awesome website known as chrono.gg. And what on earth is chrono.gg, you may be asking? Well, I'll tell you right now. It's very simple. If you go to chrono.gg/caddy in the description, you'll see that every single day, every 24 hours, there is a new game ready to buy on the site at its lowest price it's ever been since its release. This site works directly with game devs worldwide to sell through this service, and there have been many awesome games in the past on the site available, such as Broforce at $5, Loft Rousers at $1.50, Monstrum at $6, and even Bit Trip Runner 2 at $3. As of the time this video goes up, an extremely ridiculous and fun rocket creation game known as Simple Rockets is available at $3.50. And yes, you can use other currencies from all over the world, Europe, UK, and all that stuff, so it localizes wherever you are if you click on that link below. And as far as future awesome games on offer, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to check out chrono.gg/caddy every day to see what new offers are going down. I can't tell you what's coming up. But rest assured, anything you decide to buy not only gets you an awesome game at its lowest possible price, but also directly supports this channel and all of these videos that everyone seems to like watching. So if you consider doing that, thank you so much. You're directly helping to make this channel better, and thank you. Yeah, you're helping keeping the schedule alive. So, thank you. And if it's your birthday today watching this video, happy freaking birthday to you. Please remember to stay beautiful. I'm gonna smell my chest.